everyone, it's Char from Char's Fascination here with another spooky story time of some real history of the tribes battling the red-headed giants. Now, you may have seen this on the History Channel, but since one of the tribes was the Nez Perce, and it was actually Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce. Now, I have actually done a portrait of Chief Joseph. Yes, I am wearing my medicine bag for this. So, I will be doing my nails. I have everything set up. I already have my nails on. I just have to paint them. Hold on. I have a friend, doing this group. Okay, the way I'm going to do my nails today, before I even start telling you the story of the red-headed giants, because this stuff is crazy, is the red-headed giants are everywhere in folklore. So it's not just one set of people on the earth that have had to deal with these monstrous red-headed giants, I'm gonna kind of do my nails to where it just looks like everything is just drippy. So basically, I'm going to just let that kind of drip on the nail. Except for when I can't, and then I'll just kind of skirt it along. Just to kind of give it this dripping effect. And then I think that'll be cool. So, from when I was a little girl, and I would hear these stories from the tribes, right? Of these giants. And then I'm like, I see something on the History Channel about these red-headed giants. So, I'm like, wow. So, Chief Joseph, the best friend of Sitting Bull, if you didn't know that from Custer's Last Stand and everything. So the tribes had been warring against each other at some point, and these red-headed giants, right? They're pale-skinned, red-headed giants. How in the world? Hold on. Doesn't that figure? Nail polish gets on the back of my finger. Hold on. I gotta clean that up. So, okay. I cleaned that up. So, alright, back to the story at hand. We'll take a little extra that off there, because on that, we can even streak it like it's, grippies. And I have been enjoying using Hollow Taco 1 Coat Black because it's fantabulous. I love this stuff. If I had a discount code for you, trust me, I'd use it. Okay, so back to the story. Right? Well, it's actually historical, and they did eventually find this cave of giants, right? But they just thought, oh, well, this is just mythological a bit. Let me back up the story a bit and tell you a little bit about what these red-headed giants would do. Okay, while I dry these nails. So, most of the women, if you didn't think that tribes would actually go down to the water and wash their goods, of course, just like anybody wants clean undies and stuff, of course the ladies were down at the water washing the laundry, gathering water, bathing themselves or their children, or helping an elder, that kind of stuff. Little did they know that the red-headed giants from a certain point were lurking and watching them from a distance. And and they were creeping up on these poor women, snatching them. Okay, they were snatching these women. Okay, so like I was saying, there were some warring tribes, but eventually they were like, Chief Joseph called a council, like, come on, let's get together and have a peace treaty, because we have a thing in common that we need to take care of, these red-headed giants, right? So they do this. They get together, they start planning their attack, because their women are coming up missing. Some of their animals are coming up missing. They're finding dead dogs, well, basically wolf and coyote are considered to be dogs of that century. And sometimes, like when the colonizers came, of course, they brought their animals. So some of those animals would be there. So, but here's the whole thing. Where did these pale-skinned, red-headed giants come from? That right there is a good question. Now, biblically speaking, in the book of the Kabbalah, the original Jewish text writing of the Jewish, it as a Bible, these red-headed giants were everywhere. Just everywhere. Were they Anunnaki? Yes, some of them were Anunnaki. Where did the Anunnaki come from? We do not know. Is this ancient aliens? I have no idea. Anyway, so there was a group of people. I don't know if you like how that turned out. I'd have to say, like, my thumbnail was probably my favorite out of all these. Showing people live over here. Live on a chat thing that I'm doing. Those are drippy nails. So let me do the other hand and continue this story. And before I do that, let me just find a scrap of paper so it's like, here we go. Scrap of paper. So in case, like, I want to do something and it just drips on that, not the table. Okay, so some of these women that were taken made their way back. Unfortunately, they made their way back impregnated by these giants. Now, amongst the tribes, if you're impregnated and you're a single lady, that is a no-no. I believe that's a no-no about a lot of nationalities, like way back in your day, and they will shun you and stuff. But here's the thing. If they knew they were snatched up by these red-headed giants and they carried the children of the giants, basically these women would kill themselves, and that's sad by itself, because they did not want to bear the child of their enemy. Now, basically amongst the tribes, like I was saying, like if you come home, like you were caught by a warring tribe and you come home pregnant by a warring tribe member, you either off yourself or you're put in a dwelling, kind of like being shunned, even though it's not your fault. Your body did not have your choice. So, put these in here to dry. And, so hold on, let me put this lid back on first. So, yeah, that's what they would do. They would add, these women would either kill themselves, which is super, super sad, because they didn't want to carry the child of their enemy. Why is this nail like that? Oh, I'm going to have to, like, try that again. What happened? that's that finger that I had to clean it up. I'll finish cleaning that up. So, why isn't that dry? That's a good question. That nail isn't even dry. What kind of crap is that? So back to the story, right? Historical story, true facts. So, Chief Joseph and the other chiefs gather, like I said, to strategize. What are we going to do? Because they're finding their animals dead, their women are taken, some of their children are missing, and they find, unfortunately, they would find the skeletal remains with human teeth marks because apparently these red-headed giants were cannibals, which is gross. This is gross. So they all got together, one huge war party, like thousands of natives, right? In this huge ass war party against these giants. Unfortunately, some of them lost their lives because these are huge human creatures, right? It's not a Bigfoot. If it was a Bigfoot, that by itself would be different. We're going to redry this hand a little bit more. So, okay. They get together like this, and they know where this cave is, right? With all these giants in it, and nobody, like, all the other tribes, like, nah, that's not where they are. Okay, but, you know, some of the tribal members decided, hey, we're going to scout, watch them, and see where they go. Good for you, because you were smart as hell. You know, Native nations, you know, it's like, if you really look at strategy, war strategies, and how to keep your family, tribal members, like, safe and everything, there's a lot of war strategy to this. You know, like, with anybody that has an army, of course you do strategy, or any military, you do a strategy. So, I'm going to retry this one while we continue. And this is a look. Now, my friend Janelle from Janelle's Glam Squad asked me about, like, the nail things from her. I'm going to sew something to go with the nail polish stickers that she sent me. They're nail polish. They're like a sticker from Color Street. I still feel like something's sticking up on that nail, but when I look at it, it's not. It's just the skin. I just gotta stop looking at that weird. It's weird. So like I said, they gathered their war party. Followed these things to their cave. And once they realized that they were in this huge cave, right, riddled with just like human remains, and like I said, you know, these human remains had human teeth bite marks in them from the cannibalistic red-headed giant. Now, they couldn't tell which tribe members they were at first, you know, certain markings and stuff. Then it comes down to the bones, and then you can't tell it all. So they're like, well, we can't get them out of here, and we can only rescue so many of the living people, and that would be about it. Now I'm going to go on with this orange nail polish and kind of drip that in there. Remove this paper because I'm not going to do that. Remove that. It's a piece of paper that was like invoice from Bath and Body Works. Is that like this month? Yeah. So anyway, back to what we were speaking of. Speckles. I'm just gonna let that go like that. Let's see, drip. we're going to just calmly dry that. Calmly dry that. Well, I'd lean and tell you more of this. Okay, centuries go by. I didn't tell you the one part. Okay, let me back that up again. That the plan was, because there were a lot of boulders over the top of the cave where you could just like get it down and everything. So they basically waited until a certain point at night where they barricaded. These giants had no chance. They barricaded them after they were warring with them. It's like they pushed them back into their cave because there were too many tribal members and they were outnumbered, and so they run back to this cave and try to conceal themselves, hide themselves, go back to their base camp, which was this cave, and hide there until they could reformulate a plan to come back and attack. But did they get the chance? Absolutely the fuck not. Because these tribes, they were not, tribe members, they are not stupid. They are very well trained in formulating how to save your tribe. And this is why some tribes became really well known, like friends with each other, because of certain situations like that. They decided, hey, let's just have peace with each other and all. So, okay, a couple of centuries go by. And unfortunately, people are on reservations by that time, and all. Chief Justice is buried above Wallowa Lake, overlooking Wallowa Lake is his dwelling. I've told you guys that before. But let's see if there's enough of this. Might be. This doesn't have to be perfect with the orange. It can look grungy. I don't care. That's the point of these now. Not to look all like perfect sassiness, right? So, centuries go by, like I said. And, there was the tales of this, like people say, oh, well, I don't think Sodom and Gomorrah or Troy was a real thing until they found it. And they found it. Well, it was the same thing with this. Okay, somebody found this barricaded cave. Right, because they had barricaded these giants, like I said, in this cave. War strategy, just brilliant war strategy of the tribes. And, so they got permission to go ahead and start clearing the debris away. And when they started clearing this debris away, they started finding the human remains of the already deceased tribal members. And they go a little more. They find this skeleton of a giant that just happened to have red hair. The bodies of most of these giants were preserved to the point where they still had their skin on them. So basically they were mummified in this cave, right? Mummified in the cave. And hold on, let me finish drying this hand, and then we'll start doing the other hand, and then we'll wrap this up. So, okay, got those like that before I top coat them, right? We got to finish the other hand before that. So, So they got the permission to open it up. And they really were not expecting to find all those remains of the red-headed giants, which they thought were just folklore. Like, oh, how in the heck is there red-headed giants? Okay, well, first of all, not all of us Native American have just dark hair. Some Native American peoples have red hair. Some Native American peoples have natural blonde highlight. So we aren't just born with dark hair. This is true. I wasn't born with dark hair, but my hair went dark naturally. So it's an age thing and growth. So it's like your hair eventually just changes the color. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this. So they're pulling the skeletal mummified remains. And then they realize that this goes back to the actual documented stories by the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Nez Perce, the Navajo, the Blackfoot, the Blackfeet, the Awnee, the oh my gosh, the even the Tillamook and the Umpqua had their own stories about these giants. There's just so many tribes that had, even Choctaw have stories of the red-headed giant. So it's not just a few tribes. It's just basically almost every tribe has their story on the red-headed giant. Now, my thing on this is a lot of Sasquatch stories is Sasquatch has a red hair. Some Sasquatch stories say that he has red hair. He, she, or whatever gender of a Sasquatch they come along and find. Okay, so there's that. So keep that in mind. Back in to re-dry a little extra. Sometimes we get to be extra. So if you really think about this, a lot of people around the world have talked about these red-headed giants. Let's see, David and Goliath. Goliath was actually a red-headed giant. Where did he come from? He was hired to kill. Where did they find this red-headed giant named Goliath? Good question. I'm just saying. There's all sorts of stories behind the David and Goliath. Which is King David. He did actually become King David. And then there's red-headed giant in England, Germany, Russia. Oh my gosh. The red-headed giant stories out of Russia and the Ukraine. Wow. They don't just have the Yeti up there. They have all sorts of different stories of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my top coat while I wrap this up. So, I don't know what you think of the nails. What do you think? Just kind of Halloween put together. It's supposed to look like that. They're like, you know what? We're talking about red-headed giants, and I put orange on there. Go figure. You know, with top coat, I just do the basic brush on. That way it's just on there. So really think about this in world history of these spoopy red-headed giants. They were also known in Hawaii. But in Hawaii, they were known to live in the volcanoes. Is that not creepy? Maybe they needed to stay warm. I don't know why. Weren't they up near the sun? How's the air up there? But really think about this. My thought on these spoopy giants is, did they have what's called runaway agrammelia? That's a thought. People back then had no way to check and see if people had runaway agrammelia, which is a disorder that, like, if you're young and you get it, like Andre the Giant, then you cannot help how tall you get. It can also cause you to have enlarged intestine, a top-heavy heart, or an enlarged heart. So that's true. But think about all the spoopy folklore around the world, and the fact that the strategy of the tribes, attacking these giants and pushing them into this cave just to encase them in there, like, that's the Titans. Not Teen Titans, no. The Titan, right, in Greek mythology. The Titans were encased in a cave, like some of the Titans were in there, okay? So, are these creatures of the earth? They absolutely could be. Ancient alien theorists say something else. Because they think that those are out of this world. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below what your thought is on the red-headed giants. And I want everyone to stay spooky. And I will see you tomorrow. This is what they look like with the glaze. Not glazed. Glazed. Anyway, see you tomorrow. My spoopies.